Luis, will you read the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
First item on the agenda is to approve our agenda.
Move it.
Second. Motion by Feldheim, second by Fikert. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Add. Oh, yeah. On the agenda, in the packet, we've got, kind of the memorandum of understanding for the, Veteran Service Officer. We need to provide documentation to the, Division of Veterans Affairs by the end of the year as far as his salary for reimbursement. And then prior to the end of the year, we need to reappoint Aaron for 4 years. So we'll need to get that on the agenda probably in either next week or the week after. And then provide documentation to the Department of Veterans Affairs that that's done. And then we'll qualify for the additional funding to offset his salary. Okay, next on the agenda, opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone here to address the Brown County Commission this morning? Anyone in chambers, anyone out there on the phone or internet that would like to speak to us? Hearing and seeing none, we will move on to public hearing and first reading of ordinances 231 through 234.
Ordinance 231, an ordinance amending Title IV, second revision, Brown County ordinances amended to rezone certain described properties. Be it ordained by the Brown County Commission, Brown County, South Dakota, that the petition to amend Title IV, second revision, Brown County ordinances is amended to rezone the following described property filed by Todd Auctioner, doing business as Auctioner Real Estate LP, is hereby granted, and Title IV, second revision, Brown County ordinance is hereby amended to change the zoning on the following described property from Chapter 4.06 Agricultural Preservation District to Chapter 4.15 Light Industrial District. The south half of Section 19T123N R64W lying south of Railroad right-of-way of the 5th PM, Brown County, South Dakota.
All right, is there anyone here to speak to ordinance number 231? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve first reading. Motion by Gage, second by Fikert. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Ordinance 232, an ordinance amending Title IV, second revision, Brown County ordinances amended to rezone certain described property. Be it ordained by the Brown County Commission, Brown County, South Dakota, as the petition to amend Title IV, second revision, Brown County ordinances as amended to rezone the following described property filed by Gerald Jangula is hereby granted, and Title IV, second revision, Brown County ordinance is hereby amended to change the zoning on the following described property from Chapter 4.06 Agricultural Preservation District to Chapter 4.07 to Mini Agriculture District. Proposed Lot 1, Jangula subdivision in the northeast quarter of Section 24T123N R65W of the 5th PM, Brown County, South Dakota.
Is there anyone here to speak to ordinance number 232? Hearing and seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Move.
Motion by Weiss, second by Feldheim. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Ordinance 233, an ordinance amending Title IV, second revision, Brown County ordinances as amended to rezone certain described property. Be it ordained by the Brown County Commission, Brown County, South Dakota, that the petition to amend Title IV, second revision, Brown County ordinances as amended to rezone the following described property filed by John Daly is hereby granted, and Title IV, second revision, Brown County ordinances is hereby amended to change the zoning on the following described property from Chapter 4.06 Agriculture Preservation District to Chapter 4.07 Mini Agriculture District. Lot 1, first subdivision of Beavers Outlot 1 in the north half of Section 21T126N R64W of the 5th PM, Brown County, South Dakota.
Is there anyone here to speak to ordinance number 233? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Move. Second.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Fikert. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Ordinance 234, an ordinance amending Title IV, Second Revision, Brown County Ordinances as amended to rezone certain described property. Be it ordained by the Brown County Commission, Brown County, South Dakota, that the petition to amend Title IV, Second Revision, Brown County Ordinances as amended to rezone the following described property, filed by Stacy Gosman, is hereby granted, and Title IV, Second Revision, Brown County Ordinances is hereby amended to change the zoning on the following described property from Chapter 4.08 Residential District to Chapter 4.13 Commercial District. Proposed Lot 1, Old Crow Addition in the northwest quarter of Section 17, T123N, R63W of the 5th PM, Brown County, South Dakota.
Is there anyone here to speak to ordinance number 234? Seeing none, entertain a motion.
Move.
Motion by Fikert.
Second.
Second by Gage. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next up, Rachel Kitley, Fair Manager, with a laundry list of issues.
Yeah, morning guys. Did you guys have a cheat sheet of what those prices were that we had 2 weeks ago? If not, here you go. So first on the agenda, we'll go in order, awarding that RFP for the rodeo, Dakota Bank Stampede Rodeo. Karen, are you on the phone with us? Karen Trebe's one of our co-chairs of the rodeo committee, along with Ryan Swenson. Ryan or Karen, are you guys here?
Yes, I am.
Thank you for joining us. Ryan, are you on too? All right, we've got a very talented rodeo committee that has been involved for many years and helped gather names of who we should send the RFP to. We've had a history of some really great stock providers that we've worked with, and we wanted to thank and appreciate everybody who put in a proposal. So in front of you, you see the 5 that had submitted 2 weeks ago. There's 5 different factors that the committee took into account: cost, quality, resources available, relationship with the PRCA, WPRA, and familiarity with the Brown County Fair. And really, they're all 5 are dynamite. I mean, it was a really tough call for the rodeo committee and a tough call for the fair board in general. We've got great relationships with a number of them. They all provide quality programs. You know, Sutton's been with us the last couple of years. They've been great to work with, very good family and really fun to work with. Mossbrucker, he's been very familiar. He's rented out the expo out there, familiar with the grounds for his Bolorama. He also helped us during Summerfest. You know, he put on that event when the commission had decided they wanted to do something during COVID. Bailey Pro Rodeo, a lot of the Fair Board members have been to their events in Ellendale and in Valley City for the winter show. They put on a great event. And of course, Corco Rodeo. We've had decades of a relationship with them as well. So it was tough, but the board and the rodeo committee decided to recommend to you for the next 3-year contract, Bailey Pro Rodeo.
Are there any questions of the commission for Rachel or the rodeo committee?
And as I mentioned, it was not an easy decision. There was hours that went into the research and the thinking on this, but when you take into account all of the considerations, that's kind of where they fell, so.
Okay. Any questions, comments, motions? So the recommendation of you and the rodeo committee is that we go with Bailey Pro Rodeo.
I would move it.
Motion by Fikert,
Second.
second by Feldheim. Is there any further discussion, any questions by anyone? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
And just to reiterate, we do appreciate, you know, a lot of times we put out these RFPs and you're lucky if you get 1 or 2. So we do appreciate everybody that put in the proposal and hope to keep those relationships intact, because this will be bid again in another 3 years. So thanks to everybody who put in for that. Second thing I think on the list was fair contracts. I had 2 of them that I had sent in. Did you guys get copies of those? The first one was Motown for $8,000. That was what we paid for them last year, but they did give us 2 additional performances next year. So that was one, and you could probably do them together. The second one was for a new entertainment we're bringing next year, the Great American Duck Races. And we're gonna have that in the kids zone. They bring a pool, and the kids get to pick a duck, and you let it go, and they race, and it'll be a great time, I guarantee you. So, those are the two contracts I present to you today.
Okay, they were in the packet, if anybody has any questions. Not.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Weiss, second by Gage to approve the two fair contracts. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
The next thing I present to you is a 23rd Fair Board member. There's still 2 openings. If you choose to approve this, the Fair Board recommends 2 3-year terms for Brody Mueller. You might know Brody from the Million Cup Show and a million other things that he's involved in here in Aberdeen. We're excited to welcome him to the board. We think he'll do great things with us.
Motion by Weiss. Second by Fikert. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Welcome aboard.
And my final deal is motivated by some conversations I've had with you guys as well as some of our local legislators. They were just kind of curious how much sales tax is collected on the Brown County Fairgrounds during the fair and throughout the year. So I finally got a call back from the Department of Revenue. They've been very helpful in getting us some numbers. You don't care about that? But just something for you to review, no need for action, but just, we're always looking for new revenue sources. This wouldn't be a new tax, it would just be reverting it back to us. And I thought with our legislator friends in the audience today, that's something we can just explore. And don't know if there's an option, still time to get that on the legislative agenda now, or maybe down in the future, but it would make a huge difference. $176,000 worth of sales tax is generated on that fairgrounds. None of it comes back to help with the upkeep, so we could sure use some help on that. As you know better than I do how many of those buildings, barns, infrastructure need help, and so appreciate anything you guys can do, and I'm happy to assist in any way I can. So, thank you.
That was one of the first bills that I had when I was out in Pierre back a long time ago. But anyway, it died a miserable, quick death, and the state of Minnesota has got something in their laws that allow for sales tax generated on like achievement days and county fairs, and that money goes back. I don't know if it's a percentage of the money or all of it goes back to the local where the fair takes place. And that's what the legislation was drafted after, and it made no headway whatsoever. So
How long ago was that? Is it all right if I ask a question?
Absolutely.
How long ago was that?
well, it was K5 or 4 or 2 back in the ice ages. Oh, that's right. We got that going. Anyway, it was probably 10 years ago,
Okay.
12 years ago, something like that.
So if you had something like this that we were interested in, asking for the entire chunk would be probably something that wouldn't happen. What do you think would be something that would be realistic, that would be not just good for Brown County, but for all counties?
Well, what I would suggest is go to legislative research, have those folks pull up what, if in fact there is something, and what it is that happens in Minnesota, and then I'd go for the full amount, and then use it to compromise as you move along. I mean, even if it gets any traction whatsoever, but...
Well, this is something that would benefit, several other counties around the state too that have fairs. It's not just something for Brown County, it's
Right.
something, that for anyone who has these kind of facilities, the ability to be able to do that. It was interesting, I was in Huron 2 weeks ago, and I passed through the fairgrounds, and, there's a lot of state involvement, and it's a state fair, so it's the state celebration. But the new facility that's going up in Huron, if anybody's in Huron to have a look at it, the state's investing very heavily for that event, but giving us a little extra support for some of the things, especially with the cap that we've had for years, I think is not unreasonable considering the current financial situation of the state, so.
Well, even, like Edmonds County Achievement Days, McPherson County Achievement Days, they
Right.
have concession stands. I don't know just exactly what their sales tax, where they go with that, or if they generate other revenue that they have to pay sales tax on, I have no idea, but all those things could be researched too, so.
For some counties, it could be pretty significant, or
Right.
not so much, but still,
Right.
treat everybody the same, that'd be good. We could sure put that money to good use.
And I have been in contact with some of my comrades in the other counties, and there would be a push from other areas of the state if this is something that, you know, I know it's a little late because you guys already had convention and stuff like that, but it'd be good.
Well, you got the Central States Fair, you've got, what is it that goes on out in Rapid City in October? It's some livestock show of some kind, I'm not even exactly sure what it's called.
Junior Western, I
Western
think.
Junior or
Yeah,
something?
Western Junior.
But I mean, there's several of them,
February.
so.
Yeah, but that's something that, you know, the county association can get behind and start talking about and so forth, and I believe that sits on their board.
And the beauty is, it's not a new tax, it's just reallocating.
Yeah, and they're so receptive to that.
Well, thank you very much. Let me know if you need anything.
Thanks,
Thanks for the
It's always
information.
blowing my mind that you can take every little put-in town in South Dakota, and they can have 2% tax on anything they sell. You know, everybody has the option to it, but when it comes to the county, they can't have 2% on the services they provide. I'm not instigating a 2% tax countywide. I would like to see a 2% tax on what county services are. Marriage license, fair, all the way around and be treated fairly, just like every small town in South Dakota can be treated fairly, but we don't ever seem to be able to get it done. The 2% on the services we provide only would be huge for the county, because it would be everything that we would provide to people to get 2% to be treated fairly, just like every Columbia, Westport, Frederick. You can name them, I mean, there's towns as high as 30 people that get a 2% sales tax. We as counties don't stand a chance, it don't seem like.
Sounds to me like new things to tax.
Well. Why should we be any different than anybody else?
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah,
Now we don't
thanks,
need no
guys.
tax commercial. Okay. Thanks, Dennis. Moving on, Chris
You
Seaman.
guys get into the peanuts over here and settle down.
Morning, Chris.
Morning.
How are you gonna entertain us this morning?
I don't know, well, I could jump on the table and dance, but,
You
You already talked about it in the past, now we can talk.
yeah, I don't know if I can do that. But, no, originally, I think why I was on the agenda was, we're putting in for the Weed Pest Board was putting in for a competitive grant. I was told that the commission chair had to sign it, and, well, it turns out, no, it's just the Weed Board, so I figured I'd take the chance, since I'm on the agenda, just to give you guys kind of an update and a recap. The grant that we're putting in for is a $2,000 competitive grant for biocontrol agents for yellow-toed flax. The State Department of Ag and Natural Resources, they've been doing a lot of work, and they're kind of limited on how many releases they can do, and what we'd like to do is get this established as a collection site, and, you know, within 3 to 5 years, have something where we can kind of distribute throughout the state, because right now they're, what are they charging, I'll say it was $250 per release, and you get about 75 to 100 weevils per release. And the state can only get, I want to say like 10 releases to kind of put out between here and West River. So we're going to try to kind of continue that work with them if that gets approved. Other than that, I guess weed spraying through the year was started off pretty good, and then we just got dry and windy all year long, and I think that's the battle everybody's been fighting. That hard frost, you know, we've had hard frost in the fall before, and it didn't really seem to affect us, but between that and the drought, I think that the weeds were still there, they were still nice and green, we still sprayed them, but whether they took any chemical or not, I have no idea. We'll have to wait until spring to find out.
Kind of gone dormant.
Yeah, basically, so, kind of like me in the wintertime.
I've seen you work pretty hard.
Yeah.
I might just add that the South Dakota Department of Ag is responsible for, or the grant monies, and there's like $400 and some thousand that are available there. $200 and some thousand of that money is made available for local weed boards to apply for grants, and it's kind of been a situation where West River has done really well applying for those grants, but for some reason East River just hasn't participated in the opportunity to take advantage of those grant dollars. We get, I forget what it was last year, how much did the county get last year off that other 200 and some thousand? Was it-
About 4,500.
Yeah, I was gonna say 4,700, and so in other words, the counties across the state of South Dakota have the opportunity to apply for these competitive grants, and then they have to have a specific goal that they're after, and in this case, yellow toadflax is a new invasive weed that has just kind of showed up. It's been a problem in McPherson County, and now we're starting to see it here in Brown County. And the state of South Dakota Department of Ag, the gentleman that is responsible for working with the local weed supervisors, has actually worked with a couple of producers in Brown County to come up with these, whatever they're called, the bugs to work on yellow toadflax, and I'm just glad that Chris took the opportunity to apply for a $2,000 grant to work with the state. And so, anyway, hopefully more East River weed boards will take the opportunity, weed supervisors will take the opportunity to go after some of this grant money.
Yeah, and there's another one, the same grant we're thinking about, putting in for about $20,000 for chemical for spraying toadflax. The reason we didn't put in for that one this year, that I talked to Edmonds and McPherson, we were gonna try to do like a multi-county, joint operation on this grant. Because Edmonds and McPherson, I think they've got it way worse than we do. I mean, we've only got that one quarter there that I know that's infested, that we're trying to set up the insectary on. Other than that, we just see little patches on roadside ditches. It's worse here in town, yeah, so far. Exactly. It's gonna get worse at some point, and like Dennis says, eventually it may be like leafy spurges today. You just see it everywhere. But right now, we're just kind of putting the fires out as we see them, and it seems to be working pretty well. And if we can stay on top of it, great. Edmonds, McPherson, they've got spots where it's been out of control, and we kind of blame that a little bit on the fact that, they're stretched between highway and weed and pest. They don't have a dedicated sole weed and pest department, and that, kind of hinders their operations there. We thought about trying to work with those counties. I talked to the McPherson County Supervisor, Mike Schwindler. He said, yeah, we'd, be interested in doing something like that. He says, we don't know how much assistance we'd be able to give, so if we put in for it, it'd be one of those deals where, we'd be in charge of the grant, maybe they'd order chemical or provide equipment, but it'd still be us basically doing all the spraying, and we're stretched thin enough the way it is. So if we can get to some sort of agreement where, they'll commit to, so many hours of manpower, chemical, what have you, if they've got some areas that we can look at. So we're gonna kind of focus on that next year, see if we can come up with a plan of attack, and, and helping those two counties out, it's not gonna directly benefit us, but if we can kind of keep the problem that way and have a little bit of a buffer strip, I guess, and stop the weeds from spreading our area, it'll pay out in the long run.
And when you say selfishly, it does benefit us, because then it helps make sure that it doesn't just get to the border and having the ability, same thing with you, which we really appreciate the fact that, in the winter months you help out with other departments and things like that, just dedicating somebody or a group of people to that is kind of difficult in the grand scheme of things, because it is so seasonal, but, we're fortunate to have you, but it takes a lot of time to be aware of those programs, and then to go through all the paperwork that you have to apply for it and follow up on it, because there's always details.
Yeah.
But cooperatively, it makes a whole lot of sense.
Another quick point, that 400 and some thousand that the Department of Ag makes available, basically it comes from fees on labels, even like Drano that you might have under your kitchen sink. But anything that has I suppose you call it a hazardous product, they've all got all chemicals, whether it's Roundup, every one of them have got a fee on the label, and that's where those monies are picked up or collected. And there's been some attempt over the last 10, 15 years to try to raise some of those fees, but there's always pretty good lobbying goes on to just keep it where it's at, and because those companies don't want to pay more for the label fees. And So maybe in years to come, maybe there'll be a way that can be raised too. So it's really not taking, and I mean, it's always passed on to the consumer. I mean, one way or the other, so, but that's just for a point of information, that's where those monies come from.
Yeah, but having those resources available and then not taking advantage of it, is something that is really important.
What transfers it, Birds?
What's that?
What transfers it mainly?
The toad flax? Birds do eat the seeds, yeah, that'll get, they spread by roots. A lot of it's hitchhiking, like, somebody will have a pasture, they hay it, and then that's where we see it on the sides of the roads when they're transporting the bales back and forth, so that's a big one.
Yeah.
I'm not pointing at Dennis, but.
You should be.
Oh, I tell you what, we found a patch or two in some of our hayland and in our pastures too, and we go after it big time. I mean, we don't need that invasive weed in Brown County for sure, but it's inevitable. It's gonna be here.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the city limits is where you see the worst of it, and, a lot of lawns and stuff. If you ever, north of, that block north of Arby's, we're doing a test plot with SDSU. We, reached out to them last year, and they've been trying to find something. Nothing's really labeled for lawn care, for toad flax. The only chemical that we have right now is Tordon, and that's a restricted use pesticide. It's not labeled for lawns. You can't use it in your water. So they're testing some just lawn applications, how heavy can we hit it, go max rate, which one works best, and how many times a year you have to hit it. So hopefully we'll get a few answers on that and see if there's any resources we can do with town. I've been working with Paula Nelson quite a bit too, the city code enforcer, on empty lots in town and things out of town. She's been great to work with. She's had a lot of questions as far as what noxious weeds are, so I've been giving her some education. She's been helping me out, so that partnership's been working out great.
I'll make one other point. Anybody that's a member of Farm Bureau, I think it was yesterday or the day before, got an email, a questionnaire, and the concern that Farm Bureau's got is the woody plants. I mean, you go up into the Hecla country, it's Russian olive. I mean, there's even the Chinese elm trees. There's one of the really big ones is red and silver cedar now, that's just kind of taken over in the pastures. I mean, we don't have a problem here yet, but they're kind of ahead of the game, I guess. They're really wondering what South Dakota should do to try to keep what's happened in Colorado and Kansas and Nebraska, where literally some of the pastures are 50 to 100% invaded by either silver cedar, red cedar, different woody plants. And anyway, I answered that survey yesterday and sent it in, because that might be something that the Soil Conservation Service really needs to take a look at. Maybe it's something that they need to take out of their planting. I mean, and the problem is, the silver cedar and red cedar, that's kind of the go-to tree right now in the shelter belts, because it grows here and it grows fast. And not only that, but it spreads fast once it gets out in the pastures and stuff too, so.
Yeah, as far as doing its job, red cedar is doing a very good job. It's just like brome grass. We planted brome grass in ditches because we wanted something that would establish quick and spread fast, and that's exactly what it did.
Well, that's an interesting segue. I was invited to go to the regional conference a few weeks ago that the conservation districts had in Webster, and they had Dr. Ball from SDSU that I haven't seen before, and he's very entertaining and very informative, and he will scare the heck out of you about what's going on with trees and what we're doing or not doing, across the state and nationally and so forth. So that's a good segue that needs more attention as well, with what we're doing with trees, and the conservation districts are trying, but there needs to be more attention on that as well.
Exactly, and that's kind of an uphill battle too. What do they say, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago.
All right.
But else, I guess, if you guys have any other questions?
That's a good conversation. I appreciate what you do, Chris.
You bet.
You bet. Thanks for the update. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
I'm not gonna make it at 11:30 today.
Okay.
Yeah, Dwayne Jark's not gonna be there, but he's gonna call in too, so I think we should be okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, next up, we have the consent calendar. Lynn?
Approval of the general meeting minutes of November 8th.
Second. Motion by Weiss, second by Gage. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed.
Claims?
Move. Second.
Motion by Fikert, second by Weiss. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
HR reports.
Move. Second.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Gage. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Memorandum of Understanding for the 4-H Youth Program Advisor.
Move. Motion by Fikert,
Second.
second by Weiss. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Claim assignment.
Move. Second.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Weiss. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Travel request.
Move.
Motion by Weiss, second by Gage. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
nay. Motion carries. All right, any other business to come before the Brown County Commission this morning? We've been asked for an executive session by our HR director. I'm sorry, Carl.
This isn't probably the most important business, but, and it's just something that should be said, and that is congratulations to Denner, Gage, and Weiss for their elections. I think that's outstanding. And Feldheim put up a really good battle, and he won. But I think we need to also thank the other people that were involved, you know, like the Fishback, people that care and participate. I think that's very important. And I'm just really proud that our Brown County Commission did as well as they did during that process. And the truth is, there might be a lot of people that are talking about election integrity and problems and things like this, but we're not talking about Lynn's shop. She's doing a good job.
Yep, we found that out yesterday when we did our canvass of the votes, and everything went smoothly, thanks to Lynn and her crew and those volunteers that stepped forward to help, so appreciate all their efforts. And I'll echo congratulations to all the winners, looking forward to working with all of you, and Drew, looking forward to working with you.
My election process was just about as tough as yours.
My primary was a lot tougher. But that's all right, I'm not complaining.
That's right.
You guys get to do it every 2 years.
Lucky Carl.
All right, is there anything else to come before the Brown County Commission this morning? If not, I would entertain a motion to go into executive
Move.
session for
Contract.
contracts and personnel.
Second.
Second by Feldheim. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are in exec. All right, we're back in session after being in exec, and no action as a result. Big surprise. Is there anything else to come before the Brown County Commission this morning? Any comments by anyone? Questions, suggestions, within reason? Hearing and seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move. Second.
Motion by Fikert, second by Weiss. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.